Katarzyna Zowada was a 23-year-old student of religious studies at Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. She was studying religion when she mysteriously disappeared. She was suffering from depression after the death of her father, which prompted her to change degree fields in college 2 times before landing in religious studies. November 12, 1998, Katarzyna never showed up to her usual appointment at the psychiatric clinic and wasn't heard from for the rest of the day. That evening, her mother tried reporting her as missing, but the police told her she needed to wait until 24 hours had passed before filing a missing person report. The next year, in January, a whole human skin was discovered, caught in the propeller of a pusher tugboat called the Elk in the Vistula River by the crew, and DNA testing proved it to belong to Katarzyna Zowada. Later that month, one of her legs was discovered in the same river. The skin suit was missing the arms and face, except for a single ear that was still attached. Katarzyna's skin had been removed with surgical precision and prepared to be worn as a suit, which was similar to another case in the area already. Police first thought that a young man by the name of Vladimir W. had committed her murder as well. After finding his father beheaded and skinned in the basement of their home, in the same manner, his face, prepared as a mask which he wore, and tricked his partially blind grandfather into thinking he was his father for an entire day. No evidence was shown to be linked between the two cases, though, despite the two beings in the same town and within decent proximity of each other. This young man was disturbed, but he kept murdering his own family and not strangers. A year later, the case was formally dropped due to lack of evidence on body, although some investigators did spend their free time looking into credible leads whenever they could. Despite their valiant efforts, any leads they found always led to nothing. In 2012, the case was handed over to an X-Files team who specialized in solving cold cases. Katarzyna's body was exhumed and a new autopsy was performed. Thanks to advancements in forensic technology, they were able to do numerous tests and follow up on leads that were deemed dead ends, where they finally got some new evidence to follow. After having the leg examined by Professor Duarte Nuno Vieira, a Portuguese specialist in forensics and UN expert in the field of signs of torture on the human body, he confirmed that Katarzyna was tortured before being killed and that a unique style of martial arts was possibly used against her. 3D scans also concurred with Professor Vieira's findings, revealing painful and lethal incisions on her groin, neck, and chest. As if being kidnapped wasn't bad enough, the poor girl was also tortured to death and possibly even skinned alive. The style of martial arts was never disclosed, keeping it as vital evidence in the case. It's no surprise that martial arts were used as a torture method, as it can be a brutal method of inflicting pain on another person. The main suspect of the case was Robert J., who had been a person of interest back in 1999, but nothing more had been done back then. He is easily qualified to have been Katarzyna's murderer, given his knowledge, relationship with the victim, and previous employers, not to mention his training in the same form of martial arts. He was a creepy guy for sure. He worked for the Krakow Institute of Zoology that specialized in animal skin processing, to which he was terminated after he killed all of the rabbits in the unit, which he claims he had no idea why he did it at all. In 2017, he was arrested and his shower frame and bathtub were taken in for further testing after traces of human blood were found. Letters and eyewitnesses showed he knew Katarzyna. He fit the psychological profile to a T. He was seen visiting her grave numerous times, was known for harassment towards women, knew the victim, and knew the particular martial arts style used to torture her. His arrest was due to a letter from a friend of his to the police, but the letter has been kept in secret and under tight security. He was charged with aggravated murder of particular cruelty and is still in prison as the investigation continues to this day. Despite the mounting evidence against him, he claims to not know who Katarzyna Zowada is. If he didn't know her, then why was he visiting her grave specifically? Most people don't visit the graves of someone they didn't know existed, let alone visit it multiple times. The exception to that would be war veterans who died in service, or as a way to be respectful to the men and women who defended our homes during times of crisis and suffering on national holidays. He is still in prison to this day, as further investigations are underway and more evidence is being gathered 2 decades later. Any remains of her body have still not been found, only the skin from her corpse and one of her legs retrieved from the river, as well as pieces of clothing. Katarzyna's murder is still technically unsolved, but headway is reportedly being made in the case even to this day. Katarzyna's murder is described as the most gruesome in Polish history, given the circumstances in which she endured during her torture and death. It's a wonder it didn't reach the ears of the US until 2012, when the investigation was formally reopened. We can all only hope that her mother is given peace with the closing of her daughter's case, as it is finally solved.